Doom Eternal is right around the corner. It's our most anticipated game next to Cyberpunk 2077. So since the game is dropping soon, we're gonna get you all caught up if you haven't been paying attention with 10 things you need to know about Doom Eternal. Now I will say some of this you may have heard from us before in previous videos, but this is all like the most up-to-date information. So let's get started off with number 10 and talk about the story. There's more story focus this time around, straight up. Like, of course, there is still a lot of like deep lore stuff you'll have to get from codex entries that you can unlock through playing if you're into that type of thing, but the campaign itself has a way more traditional storytelling style that honestly may surprise a lot of fans of Doom 2016. So for starters, right off the bat, they're just straight up cutscenes. You know, not like the wake up intro scene from Doom 2016. No way. Now you have full on directed third-person cutscenes of Doom Guy walking around, interacting with things, listening to radio transmissions, getting ready to mess up some demons and stuff, sometimes while not wearing his helmet, which is a whole other weird thing that we're not going to get into right now. But it's all just wild to see considering how strictly first-person the series has always been. And it's not all just environmental storytelling or radio transmissions and stuff like that, too. There are like a shocking amount of NPCs that you encounter throughout the game, at least in the parts that we've seen and played. And to the game's credit, thank God, Doom Guy himself still doesn't talk. Despite that, though, he's okay with just kind of hanging around while other people spout exposition at him. It's definitely a little weird and unexpected, but the increased focus on story itself is cool. And the developers have said that if you just want to ignore it all and just shoot demons in the face the whole time instead, you absolutely can, which is just definitely the way to do it for some people. But over at number 9, let's talk graphic stuff. As you probably know, this game is a looker. You know, Doom 2016 absolutely screamed. But Eternal looks to be on a whole nother level. It's on the new id Tech 7 engine, and it's been recently revealed that if you can do it, the engine is capable of pushing the game up to 1,000 frames per second. This is a massive step up from the last game's engine, which topped out at 250 frames per second. Now again, this is more of like a one-day thing in the future, where like if you play it years from now with badass hardware, it can absolutely cruise. Now, if you care about the install size, we do know that at the very least, the Xbox One file size is 37 gigs. Apparently, the multiplayer battle mode will just be a separate download entirely. Also, just really want to keep you PC players informed that Doom Eternal won't have any ray tracing support at launch. Executive producer Marty Stratton went on record kind of downplaying it, saying his team wanted to focus on the game first and figure out the exciting new tech later down the line. It sounds like some version of the graphics feature will be implemented at some point, but as great as the game looks, don't expect it to have RTX on day one. Also, if we are talking about PC stuff, just briefly, the newest news is that apparently if you are playing the game on Steam, you're going to have to log into your Bethesda account first, like how you've had to do with similar Bethesda games lately. That might bother some people, we just wanted to put that out there. Now over at number 8, let's talk about the setting. Where Doom 2016 took place either on Mars or Hell, Doom Eternal will still feature Hell kinda, but Mars isn't really the focus. And instead we have new locations like Phobos, and most notably, literal Hell on Earth. And it's really cool. It's not just like they remade a bunch of Hell levels and said this is Earth now. They got a really good sense of like this is a place that people have been, but it's ravaged to the point where it's almost unrecognizable. You've probably seen a lot of glimpses of it in the trailer, and just looking around in that world, you can see that there was a struggle at one point. Buildings, whole cities are in ruins. There are these giant, like Godzilla-sized demons roaming the surface. You can even see these like cool giant mech suits that are all ruined, clearly bested by the hordes of these demons that just laid waste to everything. But interestingly enough, that all factors into the level design. We may have mentioned this before, but like it functions as terrain and serves as pieces of environmental puzzles as you move forward in certain instances. It's a really cool look and vibe that just manages to feel both fresh and new compared to the Mars of Doom 2016, while also feeling true enough to Doom environments that came before to feel familiar and fit right in with the rest of the game's history and lineage. And we just really appreciate stuff like that. We've seen so many different places, different regions of Hell, Earth, Phobos, stuff like that. I'm just wondering what other surprises they have in store, you know, because there's gotta be some. But over at number 7, of course, for the sake of keeping folks informed, let's talk about monetization and microtransaction stuff. Something we do want to highlight is that Eternal won't have microtransactions or an in-game store. Creative director Hugo Martin confirmed in a post saying this, and I quote, "No store. Nothing you can unlock in Eternal with XP has anything to do with player abilities or content that would impact your game in any way. The only thing you can unlock with XP is cosmetics. These have no impact on how you play, they just look cool. Eternal is a $60 game, not a free-to-play or mobile game. We are giving you a complete experience with no store, just like you'd expect." That's his words. We're just gonna have to believe them for now. Sounds pretty good. Now, there were earlier reports of earlier versions of the game having a traditional battle pass style thing, but Bethesda has since come out and said that there is no paid battle pass in the game. You play the game, you earn XP, and unlock cool cosmetics. That's it. That's their actual direct words, not mine. If anything should stay old school, it's definitely Doom. Now over at number 6, in case you missed it, multiplayer is back for Doom, but they've decided to try a completely different approach. For Eternal, id is handling the development from the start, and has instead reworked the PvP into something new called this battle mode. Battle mode takes a lot of stuff from the campaign and makes an asymmetrical mode. It's 2v1. 2 demons fight one like fully loaded Doomslayer. So it encourages quick thinking and teamwork to take them out, just depending on what side you're on. The developers have stated that they don't want Doom Eternal's multiplayer to become like what we're all used to, which is just kind of like who shoots first, who has the fastest trigger finger, Doom guy versus Doom guy. And they wanted to focus on teamwork and creative thinking, and that honestly sounds like a much better and more interesting way to handle these things. There will be 5 playable demons at launch, with more to be added later on, and they're working on another multiplayer mode called Invasion, which should come free after launch. That's what's expected. Now, this type of thing isn't always really our cup of tea, but we're still really happy to hear id is rethinking the approach to it all instead of just shoehorning in the same old multiplayer mode that only half of the audience is going to play, you know? I'm more likely to try this now. Now over at number 5, movement this time around is pretty insane and game-changing. You have a lot of options at your disposal. So, of course, you've probably seen the double-barreled shotgun with the grappling hook thing. It's called the meat hook. You get it seemingly fairly early on in the game, and it allows you to use enemies to get around stages quicker. As you know, in Doom, you need to be continuously moving and strafing around the arena, and the shotgun can help you stay in the air. Now, speaking of staying in the air, you can now have up to 2 mid-air dashes, and that will keep you airborne for shockingly long. So pair that with also grappling 2 enemies, and then couple that with being able to hit some mid-air pickups that refill your dashes. This all means you can spend a lot of time in the air for combat scenarios and environmental puzzles and navigation. Oh, and you can also swing on poles now and jump across gaps. So basically it makes some arena encounters just feel like Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, where you're just comboing around trying not to touch the floor. It sounds weird, but it makes sense when you play it. Oh, and there's more too. You can climb now. Certain surfaces allow our Slayer pal to shove his hands into the walls and climb up it, kind of like the Hulk. You can also face away from the wall and then jump off of it into a different direction. This guy can do so much now, it's almost overwhelming, which does bring me to my next point at number 4. There are a lot of new moves and abilities within the core combat. You know, you still have the chainsaw, of course, but you have an arm blade that extends out and gives you a lot of new and exciting glory kill animations, which I will say were already some of the cooler things in Doom 2016. Your shoulder-mounted equipment launcher thing, this new thing, does a lot. You still have the chainsaw that serves the same purpose, but now you're using your shoulder-mounted flamethrower, and you can burn enemies, and they will pop armor for you to pick up. And yes, you can set a dude on fire and then chainsaw him to basically turn him into a piñata full of goodies to keep you alive and shooting. This launcher can also shoot different types of grenades, including an ice bomb that can freeze enemies. Eternal added a lot more to just the melee abilities other than just punch this guy. And in our play session, we actually got to see the blood punch mode that was announced with the gameplay reveal. Basically, you fill the meter after glory kills, and then you can use your melee to punch a demon for extra damage, and in many cases just kind of explode a bunch of enemies into a fine mist. That seems like a good last-ditch attack to save you in a pinch. We're really curious to see how that helps with the main gameplay flow, and also the fact that there is a sword in the game. We're very curious to see how that works out. Now down to number 3, let's talk about the enemies. Now, there was a great video on NoClip a few weeks back that I just wanted to highlight and shout out real quick. Creative director Hugo Martin breaks down in this video some of the new enemy designs and how a lot of them were inspired by or pulled from the original Doom 2, which I just want to say is awesome. Along with that, Doom Eternal is said to have them almost double the amount of enemy types from the previous game, and they're said to challenge the player in new ways and really force them to use every ability at their disposal. A big change now is that a lot of enemies have weak points. It's not just about pumping bullets into them, it's about hitting the right spot with the right tool. time it right and throw a bomb into a Cacodemons mouth when he opens up, you know, stuff like that. I'm really curious to see how creative they can get with it. Plus, the enemies now take more realistic damage and degrade where you shoot them. Like chunks of meat flying off of their bones, you can certainly damage and slow down certain enemies in different ways. It's all gross, but really cool, and the game does a good job of onboarding you with new tools for killing and new enemies and how they all flow together. There's a new layer added, you know? You have to use your brain a little more. But thankfully, at the end of the day, it's still about mindlessly killing demons. Now down to number 2, we're pumped about this one. If you haven't heard, we've talked about this in another video, but Doom Guy has a home base. This is crazy because Doom has always been a very linear experience focused on just shooting your way through places. In Doom Eternal, you're blasting around from area to area, but you're also choosing those areas from the central hub. Doom Guy's space base, the Fortress of Doom. That's what it's actually called. It's floating in orbit above Earth, and yeah, you prep for campaign missions, jump through a portal to a location, and yeah, but there's more to it. Throughout the game, you collect these Sentinel batteries that you then bring back to this big central room, and you can then use them to unlock a whole bunch of stuff that are locked in chambers, from like weapon upgrade modules, which are kind of tweaked a little bit, upgrade crystals, Praetor suit tokens. They're really putting some cool stuff in here to incentivize you to go out and explore and collect these batteries, and then occasionally return and get cool stuff. The Fortress of Doom also has an elevator that can take you down to the Demon Prison, which is kind of like a no-risk training area where you're free to practice and perfect your skills against enemies. It's kind of like the Danger Room from the X-Men, plus the area and its demons will apparently change as you progress through the game, which is very cool and useful if you ask us. Now, we're not sure exactly how much of the Fortress of Doom we've seen in trailers and videos and in our play sessions. Apparently, you will continue to unlock areas and functionality as you continue to upgrade it throughout the game. We're really excited to see where this stuff goes because it's definitely one of the more unique aspects of the game. But finally, down to number 1, of course, if you've been with us before, you know we're down to the final bit of information. Let's do some housekeeping. Doom Eternal releases on Friday, March 20th on PC, PS4, Xbox One, and Stadia. It will also eventually release for Nintendo Switch, expected this year. If you're on PS4 Pro or Xbox One X, id Software has expressed that they've been targeting 4K 60 FPS for the visuals, but we need to have the final game in our hands to see how stable it really is. Also, I'm really curious to see how the Switch version will perform. Anyway, as you might know, you can get the game in the Standard Edition. A Deluxe Edition for a few bucks more gets you the Year 1 Pass, 2 campaign add-ons, plus the Demonic Slayer skin and Classic Weapon sound pack. That's kind of going to give you like classic Doom 1 sound for your guns. Pre-ordering gets you some goodies as well, like the meme Revenant skin, a shotgun skin, a remixed base level, and a digital copy of Doom 64. Then, of course, if you can get your hands on it, there's the collector's edition for $200 that comes with a cool lithograph, a steelbook from Mondo, an art book, and of course, a wearable replica Doomslayer helmet. I'm going to be wearing this while I'm wearing just my underwear, playing Doom very soon. Can't wait. Looking forward to Doom Eternal, but we want to hear from you guys down in the comments what you're thinking. If you're planning on getting it day 1, if you have any more concerns, we'd want to hear anything from you down in the comments. Of course, expect a before you buy video on this game once it releases. We got you guys covered, but you know, clicking the like button does help us out a lot. We really appreciate that. And if you're new, consider subscribing, hitting that notification bell, because new videos are released like every single day. As always though, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time.